What's going on, everyone? So, the Memphis Grizzlies, we're going to see what ends up happening. A lot of talks about them potentially trading Ja Morant, that the Memphis Grizzlies kind of, they suspended Ja Morant. He had those interesting comments about the coaching staff. Look, I love Ja, but the guy just cannot get out of his own way, right? Like, he's so fun to watch as a player, but the guy just cannot get out of his own way. He's constantly just doing stuff that just is a distraction and just puts him in a bad spot and in a bad light. It's so unfortunate for such a great talent. But I think at some point he's probably going to get traded. I don't think anyone really thought he was going to finish his career in Memphis, but I think he probably gets traded sooner rather than later. Will they trade him this season, like around the trade deadline? I don't know. I think it would make more sense for Memphis to kind of just get through this season and then trade him in the offseason when you have more potential, right? There's more teams that have money and, they'd be able to work out trades, and you can work out multi-team trades and all that stuff. You kind of have a little more time to flush things out. So I do think that can make some sense, but we'll see. We'll see what happens with the Ja Morant saga. Personally, I don't want the Lakers go anywhere near him. I don't think he makes sense anymore, even especially alongside Luka. Like, if the Lakers, if this was pre-Luka where you had, Anthony Davis and LeBron James, then maybe it made more sense, right? And you needed that kind of young star and stuff. Now I think it makes zero sense. So this has nothing to do with Ja Morant. I just wanted to kind of set the table, because if they trade Ja Morant, what else do they do? Do they just decide to maybe hey, open season, everyone's for sale for the right price? And if so, right, if Ja Morant is the first kind of domino to fall, and then that ends up leading to Memphis going hey, let's sell everything, I think it'll really depend on the return for Ja. Like, if you can get a piece, if you can get a player that makes sense, that can maybe, kind of continue where you left off, then maybe they won't do that. But if they get a young return and a bunch of picks and stuff like that, they might look and go hey, let's get off of guys, right? And if that's the case, if I'm the Lakers, I'm at least inquiring about Jaren Jackson Jr. Jaren Jackson Jr. makes a ton of sense for this Lakers team. Ton. And I would love to see him on this Lakers. He was the guy that I was hoping wouldn't sign an extension with Memphis, and then we could have maybe potentially got him in the for free this offseason. The only issue I have with Jaren Jackson Jr. is his contract, right? Just signed a new extension. He's making basically $50 million a year, right? And then he has a player option. He's young enough, though. His contract expires, he'll be 31. When he goes into next, unrestricted free agency, he'll be 31 years old. Right? So there's plenty of time for him to just kind of continue to grow and develop as a player and stuff. But he's getting paid like somebody that would be the first or second option. I don't think he's that. I don't think he's your first or second option. I think if he's your third or fourth option, I think you're a very good basketball team, maybe even the best team in all of basketball. My only issue is that, right? Because he's good. He is not 50 million good, right? I know he won Defensive Player of the Year, and he's a good defensive player and all that stuff. And I just think alongside Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves, I think he makes all the sense in the world. I would slot him in at the 4. So to me, I look at Jaren Jackson Jr., especially if you end up trading for him in the offseason, right? Then, if LeBron departs, he can now be your 4, right? Ideally, I'd like to slot in Jaren Jackson Jr. at your 4 alongside DeAndre Ayton, right? And you have DeAndre Ayton and his versatility, his ability to defend out the perimeter. Same thing with Jaren Jackson Jr. You get both of those guys with their athleticism slotted in alongside Luka Doncic and LeBron James. Jaren Jackson Jr. is a guy I would absolutely I'd love to see trade. Now, a Lauri Markkanen might be just a better kind of natural fit, but I think Jaren Jackson Jr. is a guy that could slot in, buy in, play a role. If he's your third guy alongside Luka, Austin Reeves, I think Lakers would be in good shape. I think he'd go get you 17 to 20 points a game, basically. I think he could give you his averages, right? Not a great rebounder. He's fantastic. One of the best defenders in all of basketball. Why you won a Defensive Player of the Year, right? But, he's not a guy that's you can count on to go give you 30 a night or anything. You have his games here and there. He's basically a 20-point-a-game scorer. He's had seasons where he's averaged 22 and stuff like that. But I think as a third option, I could see him, especially alongside Luka and Austin Reeves, I could see him as a guy that could give you, 17, 5, and 2 with like a couple blocks, maybe 4 or 5 stocks, right? Is probably a good way to put it. You talk about a guy 6'10", 7'4", 7'5" wingspan, athletic, could be that lob threat. But I really like his not only defensive versatility for this Lakers team, and especially going forward. He's also 26 years old, so he's a guy that fits the timeline perfectly with Luka and Austin Reeves and DeAndre Ayton and all of that. Now you just have all these like 26-year-old guys that you have for the next handful of years and can potentially go win multiple championships. The problem is like you'd have a lot of money committed into your kind of front five, right? Because you're going to have Austin Reeves, Luka Doncic, DeAndre Ayton's probably going to get paid, not max, but he'll probably get, $20 million, somewhere in that range. And then Jaren Jackson. So you're going to have Austin Reeves, Luka Doncic, Jaren Jackson Jr. all making like $40 million, right? Which with the new CBA makes things tough, makes things really tough. But again, like, you win championships, who cares, right? You win multiple championships. It's like, you got to pay to play type thing. It's just, if you don't, you could end up being kind of stuck. But, again, you talk about a guy for his career is 18 and a half points, 5.5 rebounds, 1.5 assists, a steal, and 2 blocks per game, right? So far this season through the 2025-2026 season, 7 games, 28.3 minutes per game, 12.1 field goal attempts per game, which is down significantly from the last 2 seasons. He averaged 16.4 the previous year and then 17.6 the year before that. So, he's down basically 5, almost 6 field goal attempts per game. He is, however, shooting a career career best 52.9%. Words are hard. He's shooting 52.9% overall from the field, which is why he has the stat line that he does. His previous best from the field was 50.6. So he's shooting basically 2% better. 3-point range, he's shooting 35% from the field on 3.7 attempts, which is actually down from the 5 attempts that he usually takes. He's 5 attempts for his career. He's a career 35% guy, so he's right around his career average. The previous year on 5.3 attempts, he shot 37.5%. If he could be that for the Lakers and give you around 37.5%, that would be fantastic. 2-point range is where he's really thriving. On 8.4 attempts, he's shooting 61%. So that's why he has such a good field goal percentage, EFG of 58.2%. Free throw shooting, he's always been a good free throw shooter. He's shooting 80% on 4.3 attempts. He has a career just under 5 attempts at 79%. Rebounds, 5.6 rebounds, 1.5 assists, a steal, 1.1 blocks, and then 17.6 points per game. So I like him because, again, he checks a lot of boxes for the Lakers, right? He gives you that defense and that defensive versatility, gives you the rim protection you're looking for. He gives you coverage at the 4 and the 5. Lakers like to run a lot of small ball, right? Well, you can throw Jaren Jackson Jr. out there and have him at the 5 at times with, say, whatever, a Rui Hachimura at the 4 and Jake LaRavia at the 3 and then Reeves and Luka, right? You do all kinds of like creative stuff, but also slot him in at the 4, right? Like you could have Luka, Austin Reeves, if you can get that 3 and D Wayne, or maybe it is Jake LaRavia, a Triple J and then a DeAndre Ayton. Now you just have, again, that balance, that versatility. You got the defense out on the perimeter. DeAndre Ayton can mask. And also you can bring at times even DeAndre Ayton, because you see how the Lakers will bring him out to defend out on the perimeter and use his size and length to disrupt. Well, you can have Jaren Jackson drop back and he can still protect the rim. He can still defend. He can defend in space, defend in the pick and roll, defend out on the perimeter. Just gives you that 2-man dynamic in a Jaren Jackson and DeAndre Ayton. And I think you can have success. My problem is that Jaren Jackson Jr. makes $40 million, right? Like I'm not a fan of that. I just don't think he's worth that. I think if he was making, $30 million, I'd be a lot more excited and encouraged with that. I'd be kind of like, hey, go do whatever you have to do to go get him. Problem is that he is making that, right? Like, and it's just, him. Can you pay him $50 million? And then Austin Reeves, I think his is like $42 million. And then Luka Doncic is another, whatever. And my problem is I don't think Jaren Jackson Jr. is a number 2. So like, even if you're somebody that's like, oh, go get him and then just trade Austin Reeves, I don't think I don't like Jaren Jackson as your number 2. Now you could argue Luka is better than Ja, right? Like, and the fit and pairing might be better, and you'd have him, Triple J, and DeAndre Ayton, plus Jake LaRavia and everything else, and depending on what you get in return for Austin Reeves, but I don't know if that's the right approach. But he's a guy, like, if you can get him cheap enough, I just feel like it'd be really hard to say no. It just depends on what his market, what is the cost to acquire him, all of those things. If it's reasonable, I think you at least inquire and throw your hat in the ring. See what they say. Like, worst thing they say is like, oh, we want 5 firsts and all, and I'd be like, all right, just keep them at that point, right? Like, that can be your problem, or let somebody else go get them, right? But if you can get him, like, essentially like, hey, we want to get off this contract, but we need like a first to at least, put our hat in the ring or make us feel good about it or whatever, right? Like, then sure. All right, I would be like, if you told me, let's say you don't do it this season, let's say you do it in the off season, right? Because Austin Reeves' contract would be last. You do Austin Reeves' contract last so you can maximize your cap space, right? So if you did something where Lakers would also have multiple firsts, so if you could do something where you're basically just they're salary dumping him to you, and you're getting them for essentially free. Maybe you're throwing in a Dalton Connect or something like that. Maybe a Dude Thero, which would be but talking again, Jaren Jackson Jr. would be great, especially as your third or fourth option. Again, as your second option, probably I just don't think you can win with him. But him as your third option, it'd be tough to say no to. And then, let's say you gave up 2 firsts, it'd be hard to say no to that. Right? If you just think about it. Like, if you basically absorb most of his salary into your cap space, and then, you could maybe even sign and trade LeBron if LeBron wanted to leave. If LeBron wants to stay, then you have him start at your 3, right? So like you could go LeBron, Jaren Jackson, DeAndre Ayton, Luka Doncic, and how do you lose? Right? Like, if everyone's healthy, probably running through the championship. You'd be so balanced. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. I pass the question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.